I had invested and put cash into a whole bunch of startups to the tune of, in the seven figures and above range. And really what most of them are, I've got one that's been out there for 15 years now. Okay. So that's basically meant I gave someone an interest-free loan with zero risk for eternity. Now, the good news is the business is still going, but they haven't had an exit opportunity, a liquidation event. And when I go through my list of what that, again, I don't know what I put into that particular business, let's say whether it was 50 or 100 grand, but even if I had it in a 6% compounded interest bearing account, or something, it'd be worth a lot more than it is right now because, who knows? And then I've had a few, one that was very high profile that went bankrupt during the pandemic, and some other very high profile investments that I've made that just haven't had a liquidation event, and they should have years ago, but there's always something that pops up. So contrast that with your thinking, which is, one of the typical investment types is take your investment, negotiate as much protection as you can to reduce the risk, negotiate better terms, and then find a way to generate cash flow as quickly as possible, and then get your interest back after a couple of years, or your principal back, and retain some equity, for example. So, if I would have had the mental fortitude at the time and the know-how, what I would have said is, hey, I don't do equity investments, but I do cash flow investments. So what I'd be willing to talk to you about is an interest-based loan that's backed up with some sort of some kind of a guarantee. And again, in your case, you might negotiate a asset guarantee or even a personal guarantee, which to some people they either wouldn't think of that, or they wouldn't have the courage to ask. And that's something that I've observed for you. It's just business as usual. And I've been around a lot of investors as well. And I think a lot of them have a very linear mindset, a linear way of thinking. And you walk in with a gigantic bag full of strategies that get stacked on top of each other. And that, I think, is my big takeaway. So the number one big takeaway to directly answer the question is equity-only investments are something I never do any longer. I've got to have some additional kickers and some protection in there to make it make sense.